Welcome to an in-depth look at stock shares. Today, we'll demystify the different types and what they mean for companies and investors. Why do different types of shares even exist? It's all about balancing various interests within a company. Essentially, shares are designed to allocate ownership, control, and economic rights among different stakeholders. They are carefully designed to balance founder control, investor protection, and employee incentives. Ultimately, different share classes help manage risk, reward, and decision-making power within a company's structure. Let's start with the foundational distinctions between equity or common shares and preferred shares. Common shares represent residual ownership and claims, while preferred shares come with built-in protections and priority claims. These share types are used differently depending on whether a company is public or private. Preferred shares are often introduced during funding rounds in private companies, specifically to protect investors. Now, let's delve into the details of common shares, covering their ownership, voting rights, dividends, and liquidation aspects. Common shares represent pure ownership, meaning you own a direct piece of the company. The core principles here are typically one share, one vote, and a claim to residual dividends, meaning you get paid after others. In the unfortunate event of liquidation, common shareholders are last in line, receiving what remains after all other claims are settled. These shares are typically held by founders, employees, and early shareholders, giving them a vested interest in the company's long-term success. Reiterating, common shares are tied to the one share, one vote principle and residual dividends. Now, let's explore preferred shares and their distinct priority features that make them attractive to investors. Preferred shares come with fixed or priority dividends, meaning investors get paid before common shareholders, and often include a liquidation preference, such as 1x or 2x their initial investment. They can also have convertible features, allowing them to be converted into common shares, and cumulative features, ensuring missed dividends are paid. Voting rights are often negotiated in private markets. Preferred shares offer anti-dilution protection, participation rights, and are typically held by institutional investors like venture capital and private equity firms. Key features include being convertible into common shares and cumulative, ensuring all past dividends are paid. Next, let's explore employee stock ownership plans, or ESOPs, designed for incentive and retention. ESOPs grant employees the right to buy shares, often with vesting periods and a predetermined strike price, aligning employee interests with company growth. They can also include clawback clauses and accelerated vesting during mergers and acquisitions. ESOP pools are frequently adjusted before fundraising rounds. Remember, ESOPs provide the right to buy shares, with vesting periods and a set strike price. Let's move on to advisory shares, which are specifically designed for external experts. These are typically small allocations, often without voting rights, used to attract industry experts, board advisors, or domain specialists. Advisory shares are usually issued as stock options, not direct equity, and come with shorter vesting cycles, typically 1 to 2 years. Now let's understand the critical concept of liquidation priority, also known as the payment waterfall. The hierarchy is clear. Creditors are paid first, then preferred shareholders, and finally, common shareholders receive what's left. This hierarchy determines who gets paid first in an exit, acquisition, or insolvency, and impacts founder dilution and investor negotiation leverage. Let's examine voting control mechanisms and the distinct dividend rights across different share classes. Dual-class structures, where founders might have 10 times the voting power, are used to maintain control. Preferred shares have a fixed, prior claim to dividends, unlike common shares with their variable, residual claim. Dual-class structures are a powerful tool for founders to maintain control over their companies. Beyond basic voting, protective provisions grant investors veto rights on major decisions. Dividend policies are strictly defined by contract for each share class. Remember the key difference. Preferred shares have fixed, prior dividend claims, while common shares have variable, residual claims. Let's consider the perspectives of both investors and founders, and briefly touch on differential voting rights. Investors prioritize downside protection and conversion rights, while founders are keen on retaining control and minimizing dilution of their ownership. Differential voting rights, or DVR shares, offer varying voting powers to meet strategic needs, a practice seen in companies like Tata and Reliance. Differential voting rights allow companies to tailor voting power to specific strategic requirements. Ultimately, it boils down to risk management for investors versus maintaining control for founders. In conclusion, understanding these different share classes is vital. Please remember, this video is for educational purposes only and not financial advice. Different share classes exist to strike a delicate balance between control, incentives, and risk within a company. Understanding liquidation rights and voting structures is essential for founders, employees, and investors alike to make informed decisions.